So, I'm starting another game series because I think my time in the other series is not going to be going on for much longer. Um, Jotunheim is in the process of killing me, and I don't think I'll make it another 10 turns at the most. So, I should go ahead and started another game. This time I am playing in the early age as Abysia. And I'm going to do a few things differently on this playthrough. I'm not going to upload my turns in real time because I think it was apparently obvious that Jotunheim was watching my videos and was like making decisions based on the information gained in those videos. So what I am going to do is after I do the nation analysis and overview for Abysia, I'm gonna upload my turns in like 10 turn batches after 10 turns have passed from the last 10 turns. So meaning, um, after I upload this video, turns 1 through 10, I will upload onto my YouTube um, on turn 20, and then turn 10 through 20 will be uploaded on turn 30, and so forth. And I'll release them in batches like that. And that way, people can't just watch my videos, make decisions, and then they get an unfair advantage that can ruin the game for other players. I don't care if they can like beat me doing that or not, but I do think it's rather lame if somebody just gets an unfair advantage and gets to eat me, and then he has basically 2 players worth of land and then is able to fight somebody else. Um, so with that explanation out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and do the nation overview for Abysia, EA Abysia. So we're gonna go ahead. Pretenders of the World, Studious Bird. This is the name of my god. I'll take a look at the pretender that I took after I go through the units. So like before, I'm gonna go ahead and start at the bottom with the combat troops. So the first 4 units, excuse me, my goodness. First 4 units are basically the same unit with just different equipment. They come in 4 flavors. One of them has a battle axe, one of them has a flail, one of them has an axe and a tower shield, and one of them has a morning star and a tower shield. And each of these are good at different things. Obviously, the flail and the morning star are really good against other shield users because they both the flail and the morning star has this +2 attack versus shields. So they get a little nice attack bonus versus shields. But as you can see, there's overall stats are particularly for defense are a little bit lower. So they'll get hit more often, but if they're fighting more against shield infantry, they'll also hit more often. And 2 attack is better than 1 defense. So obviously you would take that trade-off. That being said, there is some considerations you should be making when choosing between the 2-handed versions and the one-hand and shield versions. So, obviously, the dudes with the tower shields, they hit not as hard. So this guy hits for like 21, whereas the battle axe hits for 25. So if you're going against a lot of like high protection units, your best bet's probably going to be the 2-handed units. And so, but if you're going up against maybe like say high DPS 2-handed infantry that are human sized, these guys are probably a better bet because I mean 21 damage, this is still a lot of damage. That's gonna one shot most like medium armor like and like human hit point sized pools, right? 21 damage is still gonna one shot them, so why would you get the 2-handed version, right? So in general, The bigger the stuff that you're fighting, like say size 3 and up, you're gonna want the two-handed versions, unless you just want line holders. Line holders just get the axe dudes; they'll do fine. And I would say like you can't ever really go wrong. This is the basically the generalist of the Abyssian army, where like they're kind of okay at everything. Um, but that being said, this flail actually has two attacks. So the attack density on the flail infantry is actually insane. That doesn't apply to the shield Morningstar. This only has one attack. So if you a square of 3 of these guys actually has 6 attacks, 6 times 19, that's a lot of damage. That's almost 120. That's 114. That's insane, right? Per square, 114 damage per square. That the damage output of these units are crazy. Um, and in case you didn't know, Abyssians are basically like human-sized infantry, but like supercharged. They all have like 15 hit points. They have above average magic resistance, decent morale, plus 3 strength, so they all hit hard, all of them. But their defense is lower. Pretty much all Abyssian defense is pretty low. Like a 12 defense for a tower shield is pretty atrocious. They all wear heavy armor. And so their defense also suffers in that way too. They also all are immune to fire damage for the most part. Like not much is gonna get through 25 resistance to fire. And they all have heat ores, so meaning that units without um, units without heat resistance will tire out faster the longer they fight Abyssian infantry, and to the point where like they'll fall asleep if they don't die first. Which I'm gonna get into a little bit after I run through everything, because there's some things about this nation that they don't work well together. This nation is like a bunch of different things need to go right for it to be like working correctly, but like it doesn't ever happen that way because there's just too many shortcomings for it. But anyways, I'll get to that in a few minutes. So all your infantry are immune to fire damage. They have heat resistances. They all have wasteland survival, and they all have dark vision, partial dark vision. So they only get a -1/-1 penalty for their attack and defense skill if they're in darkness. And there are ways for you to make it dark. There are some spells that you can do, solar eclipse, namely, that you can cast to make it dark on the battlefield. So you can take advantage of that. But for the most part, big health pools and high armor, you're gonna want to recruit the two-handed versions. Human-sized and with like line holders, you're gonna want the shield variation. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next unit, the Misbred. This unit is kind of weird. He's cap only. You also, as a side note, need to have somebody with undead leadership to lead him. So he is a little bit clunky to because most of your commanders that aren't mages aren't going to be able to lead him. He's going to need to be led by like well, he can't even be led by this guy. He can't be led by this guy, and he can't be led by this guy. That leaves some your cap only mages are able to lead him, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So this guy's weird. He has stealthy, which is kind of cool. Okay, there's just a lot of weird things about this unit. I'm gonna go ahead and say the stats on him is pretty good, like 17 HP, good magic resist, good morale, really high strength, absurdly high strength, right? Attack skills decent, defense is a bit low, but I think this is supposed to be a shock troop anyways. Like they just fly in, hit really hard and like hopefully the enemy routes and they don't have to actually like fight too long. Um, yeah. So this mod that I'm playing, Sloop's Balance mod, they gave this unit a throwing axe, which is interesting. They only get a couple throws with it, but hey, 20 damage, dude. That's insane for a ranged attack. That's really high. So that's kind of cool. And so he also has a two-handed battle axe. Protection is low, so like I said, he's like a glass cannon. He's a shock troop that just hopes to God that he flies in, attacks, and the enemy routes instantly. He has flying, by the way. That's why I keep saying he flies in, which is your only flying unit that you can recruit. We'll get into summons in a second. You can summon devils, and he can work alongside of them. But yeah, he is flying that needs to be led by your a particular cat mage, because otherwise you don't have anybody else to lead these guys. Also, he has dark vision 100, so he doesn't get any penalty for it being dark, which is kind of cool. Same thing with all Abyssians. Stealthy is nice, but you don't have any stealthy commanders, so like, how are you really taking advantage of this? And it's already hard enough to find a stealthy commander that has undead leadership. So like this mechanic is a little weird for your nation to use. Like somebody just like decided to throw this unit onto the roster without really thinking about like how it's gonna work, right? So the unit's a bit bizarre, but it's one that you have. Salamanders. Oh, salamanders. You can I'll clearly see a theme here. Everybody likes fire, and everybody has abilities that pertain to fire. That's what Abysia is, right? So this unit is absurdly expensive. 50 gold is insane, right? Out the gate, I don't like this unit at all. He's really expensive. I don't think this protection value that he has is as high as it is in vanilla. I think it was improved in this mod. I think before, I think their protection was like something like 6 or 8. So at least they're a little bit tankier, but these guys are still glass cannons, right? And so you're paying all this because the stats are pretty terrible across the board, right? You're paying all this money mostly for the firepower, which so it'll make their stats better, and like their strength will go up. So you're paying the 50 gold for the firepower and this attack, which is an AoE 20 damage attack. And that's about it. That's really all you're doing. He's just a 20 damage AoE 1. That's all he is. And he's undisciplined. He's an animal. I don't like this unit. I'd never recruit him. I do not enjoy him. He's got low morale. This unit's a mess, dude. I'll be honest. There's so many better things that you're gonna want to spend your gold on. And as this nation, you are very, very gold hungry all of the time. Because I forgot to go over this, but your death and growth scales are half. That's just the thing that your nation has. The effects of growth and death are halved. So you're not punished as hard for going death scales. But at the same time, it's like the longer the game goes on for this nation, the worse it gets for you. This nation, funnily enough, flames out, like, and this unit is like a unit that's just like, well, look at me, I'm 50 gold. You have all the money in the world to spend on me, right? No, you don't. Another thing I forgot to mention about your infantry is that the recruitment points are really low, so you're incentivized to go turmoil scales. but the thing is that these units are also 20 gold. So like, and yeah, they're high resources as well. So you usually end up with going like turmoil 3, productivity 3. And yeah, those offset each other on the income values, but like your infantry is still twice as expensive. It's not the normal 10 gold that a lot of other nations have. So you're still like gold starved all of the time. And you'll see like this is a common theme in Abyssia's troop lineup is like they're all expensive and yet you don't have the gold to do it, and you really don't want to take growth because I mean you're just wasting design points on something that you're gonna get half the effect of. And you really don't want to go death because your stuff is still fucking expensive. You still need money, right? So yeah. Anyways, sorry, I got sidetracked there. Um, this guy. This guy is a lot of people would say the reason why you play Abyssio. This guy will, if you want to build a Hellbless around him, he basically guarantees your first victory in a war. In a 1v1, I don't think there's really another unit in the early era that trades effectively with him. That being said, he's like a glass cannon that can maybe take a hit or two. And if you design a bless around him, that makes him absurdly tanky. Like you can, if you take like Fortitude with Bark Skin, he will be super tanky, and his damage output is insane because he has firepower. So his strength will go up, and along with his attack skills and defense skills, um, they'll go up by 1 for each heat skill there is. He has Berserker 3, so that's another 3 strength if he gets hit and he doesn't die, right? He also has a fire shield. Like, what kind of unit has a fire shield, like, without casting a spell? This guy does, apparently. He has a Heat Aura 6, which is twice the amount that other Abyssians have. So other units that are trying to surround him and attack him, they'll start to tire out faster, and then they start missing more. And he has a fire resistance like all Abyssians. That's not special. Dark vision, same thing. Oh, another thing. He has bad formation fighter, so he only fits 1 unit per square, which is kind of annoying. He can fit next to another little Abyssian. I think that works, but other than that, you can't fit 2 of these guys in a square, even though they're size 3, which is a little annoying. Some people will say like, "Oh, that just means you can take a larger bless." You could, but I think there are other earth and nature things that you would rather get, like Bark Skin and Fortitude, that work better on him than adding like an extra 3 strength and maybe 6 hit points. Um, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the larger bless on these guys. Um, all that being said, these guys are notorious for racking up afflictions, and a unit that racks up a ton of afflictions that's 70 gold is not one I particularly like. These guys will shred like even um what's the Hinam's sacred unit, the Raphite warriors. These guys will shred them without any issue. But like, and they can go to toe to toe with pretty much any sacred unit, but it's just you're paying so much money and you don't have enough money for like other things that you need. You will literally dedicate all your money to just recruiting these guys, and you can't afford to stop if you're taking Hell Blesses because he's your only sacred. Um, and he's just, I don't know. I don't like this unit. Um, Paying 70 gold for a unit that you'll inevitably lose is super painful to me. even if his damage output is insane, basically the reason why you recruit this is because you want to win your first war. That's essentially why you get this unit. So you have to balance that with your scales that are already hampered because your growth is halved. And I, I don't like it. I just don't like this unit. So we're gonna go ahead and go up to the mages, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the thing where I start from right to left. So the anointed are rocks. This is like your hallmark unit. I'll put it in air quotes. Hallmark unit, who is supposed to be like what your nation's all about. This is like the big head honcho, big fire guy, right? He starts out with fire 4, like just out of the box, and an earth 1 path, earth 1 path, and his stats are actually pretty insane. He has really high magic resist, decent hit points. The protection is low because he's not wearing anything, but like whatever. You can put gear on him, right? Strength is pretty good. Attack skill and defense skills respectable for a mage, and his precision is pretty decent too because you want him to have high precision because he's gonna be, you want him to cast evocations, right? He's a fire 4 mage. And so down here he has heat 13. That that is bonkers. I don't think a lot of people realize like how bonkers heat 13 is. Um this is getting to the point where if he lives past a few turns, like all the units around him will be asleep, and then he can basically just chop up armies by himself, right? Um, he can be thugged, but the thing is like it's just not enough. He's missing something. He doesn't either have enough HP. His paths aren't particularly good for thugging. Um, his stats are good, but they're not like amazing. That his stats can be helped by the fact that he is fire 2. So in heat 3, this strength will jump up to 21, which is kind of insane. 18 attack and 17 defense, which are really respectable stats. But that's only in heat 3, and that makes it worse if you're in like cold 3. He also has a fire shield, by the way, but I wouldn't rather not him get hit at all, to be honest. Um, so we'll go to his random pass. In this mod, they changed it to where he could also get death, and they made the Earth random a chance by itself. So he can be Earth Fire for Earth 2, and then maybe also get one of these pass. But another thing about this unit I forgot to mention, he is slow to recruit, and he's super expensive. And you're going to be seeing that he's going to be competing for cap turns, because he's cap only, with other mages that are basically more efficient than he is. And so he's just too expensive, and he's slow to recruit, and the paths that you get from him, other units already have. So you're left thinking like, why would I ever recruit this unit? And the answer is that at least he's Holy 3, so he can get you thrones. You might recruit 1 or 2 of these, and then that's it. You might recruit them to cast big fire evocations if you really want to, because with boosters you can get this guy up to level 6 pretty easily, and then Phoenix Power gives him level 7, and then you can pretty much cast any big evocation that you want in fire. So that's kind of cool, I guess. Yeah, but most of these other paths are actually kind of helpful. If you get Astral, that's nice because you can do communions with them, and you know, that's fun, I guess. The Death path is cool too. Blood's cool. They're all cool. Um, yeah. The thing is just like, why? For a 10% chance. I know I'm like talking about like this like he has a 100% chance, but he doesn't. That's why I'm kind of like glossing over it. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. I don't particularly like this unit, but he's one that you do have. Just keep in mind that he's Holy 3. Alright. This is the actual Abyssian mage. The real one that we're talking about. And they changed him in this mod. So in vanilla EA, he is a Astral 1 Blood 2, same as this mage, but this 100% chance at these randoms is actually decreased to 10% in vanilla. So this mod increased it to 100%, which makes it very good because all of these crosspaths do something very important. I'll go ahead and start on the left. So this the fire warlocks allow you to summon devils, which is the blood summon, and we all know how strong blood summons are, and this is the easiest way that you can summon devils. And so, by the way, in this mod they made devil summons fire 1 blood 1, not fire 2 blood 2. Forgot to mention that. And so he can summon devils for the fire 1. Earth 1 is a important cross path because it allows you to forge the crystal matrices to do communions with any of your mages. And Abysia is one of those nations where they're very deep in fire, and so anytime you get a mage that has access to paths that you don't normally have, and you can communion with them for other big magic spells, it helps out the nation a lot. And you need these earth randoms in order to craft those matrices. So the earth ones are very important. You can boost them to earth 2, and then that way they can summon demon knights, which are also really nice. Earth ones are good. Astral 2, Blood 2, Warlocks, you can do horror spamming, and just yeah. The astral ones are really nice to have. Astral summoning, I mean horror summoning is a big part of Abyssia's late game. It makes them really annoying to deal with late game. And then the blood 3s are your highest blood access. They make for really nice blood searchers. They can do big blood spells. They're all these paths are good. You can find a use for all of these paths. Yeah. And so also another thing is all the warlocks have this adept crossbreeder, which gives them more units when you summon them. And Abysia has this national spell that's like crossbreeding, but they are all the units that you get from it are like Abyssian flavored, so they're usually crossbred with like Abyssians. So they all have fire resistance. They all have something that does something with fire. And you can even do you can get like these cool like hellbred giants who are immune to fire and that hit really hard. They're basically like really huge Ashdod giants that are great. You love them. You love it when you get them. They're kind of rare, but you can get them. Anyways, I think I've been rambling on about these warlocks for long enough. I'll go ahead and move on to the next unit. The Warlock Apprentice, the only reason why you would ever recruit this unit is because you didn't have enough gold for the actual Warlock, which can happen. If you're penny pitching, you can recruit these. It's not bad. They're really good at blood searching, and they're cheap. So, yeah, there you go. The Burning Lord is a unit that was added and in this mod pack, and he's basically like he wants to be a thug, and he's Holy 1, and he has like all these bonker stats, and you can equip him with stuff. The thing is like, again, he's competing for turns for all of these three guys that I just talked about. And so if you're wasting turns recruiting these guys, you're not recruiting Warlocks. So, I mean, I would say that's probably a losing move. He's also 160 gold for a Thug chassis with no Magic Pass. I don't know if that's a winning move if you're recruiting these, but sure, you have them, I guess. Maybe if you want to kill somebody's pretender, you can recruit him. Other than that, I wouldn't touch him. Demon Bread are an assassin unit that's really cool because they have scale walls. So you can assassinate units that are besieged, which can be helpful in very long sieges that you don't have time for. If you assassinate all the commanders within the castle, it's super easy to take it. And you can forge, since you have blood magic with these guys, you can forge lifelong protections and just slap them on these guys and, just go to town. The only thing that these guys really won't do well against is maybe a nature mage with swarm. But if he lives the initial cast, he could probably kill the nature mage. With a lifelong protection and maybe some gear, he could definitely do that. So you can recruit these guys sparingly. Keep in mind, same issue, since he's cap only, he's competing turns with this guy, which is really annoying. Abysia has a lot of cool units that are all cap only, which is like not very helpful for the nation as a whole. So all these 5 guys are cap only. But other than that, he's basically just a flying Abyssian that can assassinate. Pretty good stats, though. Like 14 and 12 as base stats are pretty good. Also not that expensive, considering he's an assassin. 80 gold is pretty cheap, I think, for a flying assassin. So, yeah. There's the Demon Red. The Anathemat Dragon. This guy, you know how I feel about old mages. I hate them. But this guy is the part of the reason why you don't ever really recruit this guy, because he's a Fire 3 Earth 1, and he basically does all the things that this guy does. So like, why would you ever recruit this guy if you can recruit this guy? Because you can recruit this guy in any of your forts. He's still slow to recruit. He takes 4 recruitment points, but like, whatever. And so he's a Fire 3 Earth 1. You can boost him up to Fire 5 pretty easily, so he can still cast most of the big evocations. He's way cheaper. He's like almost half the price of this guy. The only thing is that he's old. That's literally it. So you can get around this by taking Unaging on Abysia, and you're fine. It's not a big deal, right? Yeah. So this guy is basically everything I said about this guy, but better, because he's not cap only. This guy is annoying because he is your quote-unquote lab monkey, but you're paying 150 gold for 9 research points. And I don't know about you, but that is absurdly expensive for a lab monkey. Fire 2 can do a lot of spammable fire evocations, but like, everyone is going to take fire resistance or get some form of fire resistance. So even though he's your best spammable mage, like, he's easily counterable. The best thing he can do is probably do Phoenix Power, and then cast like Fire Elemental. That's pretty much like what he does, and then maybe spam Fireball afterwards. And then that's like your entire bag of tricks. Maybe throw in some Prisons of Fire in there too as well. But other than that, like, that's all he does, and that for 150 gold is kind of bad in my opinion. Um, yeah, as you can tell, I'm kind of sick of talking about this nation because I feel like I'm repeating the same shit over and over again. Your Warlord is your 80 leadership commander. He's 80 gold, so he's a little bit pricier. His stats are almost good enough to thug. Um, Maybe if you had some dwarven hammers, you can forge him like a weapon and a shield, and he would be efficient enough to lightly thug with, and he can handle some PD. But he's not that great because like his HP is like okay, but then like you look at his defense, is just like this is not great, and yeah. So maybe thuggable, not my first choice, but he is your 80 leadership commander. Um, this guy, I almost never recruit this guy. I think he's supposed to lead around your groups of salamanders, but if I never recruit salamanders, I'm never gonna recruit this guy. You could also recruit him for fire drakes if you so choose. I think that's a waste of fort recruitment. Honestly, I would never recruit this guy. He's like whatever. Anyways, this is your assassin that you can recruit in any fort. Sadly, he does not have the scale walls as this guy does, but I mean, you can still recruit him. He's got decent stealth, and you slap a lifelong protection on him, and he can pretty much assassinate anybody. Um, yeah, that's that unit. And so I hinted at this earlier when I was going over this nation. Your all of your shit is really expensive, and you're gonna be going turmoil luck. You're not gonna be maxing out your scales, and you're gonna be having half growth or death. So you're either gonna go like one or two death, or maybe one growth, just because you have the points for it. And then so your money is always going to be piss poor as nation, which sucks because all of your shit is super expensive. There's not a single unit on this roster that is below 20 gold. Not a single one. Like, so all of your shit is expensive, and your income already sucks. And so my point is that as Abysia, you have to make very conscious decisions on what you're recruiting. And you have to be mindful of every unit you lose because gold is so precious for your nation. Which is kind of annoying, to be honest, because the way that your units fight, I mean, all their defense is terrible. So you're going to be losing units anyways, and it's just so frustrating because, like, this nation is so against itself as a whole. Yeah, all of these units are expensive, and they they die easily. Is basically what it comes down to for how expensive they are. Um, and so you might be asking, well, do they have any summonable units that are easy to summon? And the answer is this: they don't. Other than the Warlocks, where they can do the crossbreeding, those units can be decent, but a lot of the time the units that you get from that are like just chaff that are naked. They have no armor. And so yeah, like you have units that are now in front of your mages, but they're not good units. And a lot of the times those units that you get from summoning them, they have afflictions, and they're old. And so they're worse than they already were beforehand, and it's just kind of frustrating. Although I will say the units that you get from this, they don't have any upkeep, which is huge. Cannot stress that enough. If there's a way for you to save gold on Abysia, do it. You're gonna need it. You can't get enough gold. So with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at my pretender that I actually brought. Quit without saving. View created pretenders. Where's the Studious Bird? This is the pretender I brought. So, Abysia has this really weird mid-game power trough where everybody has fire resistance, but you don't have any spells that are strong enough to bypass it. And it's really well known that, like, if you're able to counter Abyssia's fire elementals and their fireballs and evocations like that, the nation's a one-trick pony, and if you can counter that, then you basically win. Until they get some late-game evocations where the fire damage is strong enough to actually get through fire resistance reliably. And so I brought this guy. I took Magic 3, Luck 3, Growth 1 because I had the points for it and I like growth and scales, so I took it. Production 3 and Turmoil 3. And so I like events. I like good luck events, so that's why I took the Luck 3 and Turmoil. Abysia always should be taking Turmoil 3. Anybody that tells you otherwise is stupid. Production 3 because all your units have high resource count and you need it. Oh, I forgot to mention, your Dominion starts out in Heat 3. Do not do Cold Abysia. Cold Abysia is throwing. It's not free points. Do not do it. Alright, one point because I wanted to offset the blood hunting a little bit. So I took Growth 1 because I'm going to be planning on doing blood hunting in Magic 3. So I can increase the amount of research I'm getting. And speaking of increasing the amount of research I'm getting, I took this pretender specifically just to sit in my capital and increase my research with this ability. I'm basically going to be cycling units to my capital just to research. So all my mages are going to be sitting in my capital researching, so my mid-game power trough is as short as possible. I may or may not rush Lightless Lanterns to even more quickly get out of that power trough even sooner. So my goal is to be having Pillar of Fire by turn 30, ideally. And then Abysia, since your early game is so strong because your units are relatively tough and they hit hard, you're usually not a prioritized rush target. Most people won't attack you in the early game, like say from turn 1 to 20. No one's really going to attack you because they don't have the counters yet and they don't want to deal with your units. And so I'm going to try to leverage that into having a really good research early game. And yeah, that's basically why I chose this pretender, is just for research. I also want to say this: take High Dominion on Abysia. You're going to need it. Your nation does better in Heat 3, and if you want to spread Heat 3 everywhere, you're going to need a Strong Dominion. Take Strong Dominion. I wouldn't go less than 7, to be honest. I was able to put an extra point in Astral. This chassis starts out as Astral 3, so I brought it up to Astral 4, and then I decided to take Farcaster, because on those it's more of a meme than anything, but on those anointed rocks, the Fire 4 Earth 1 guys, they can do some funny shenanigans with like Burning Hands, which is this massive AoE 15 spell, but it has a really short range of 7. But it scales up with each fire level, and since you can boost Rox's up pretty high to like 7, and you can put Farcaster on them with, like, say, a Flame Staff of Focus, which increases it by another 25%, and then give them an orb that also increases the range of their fire casting by another 25%. You can basically have them cast that Burning Hands, which is like a 20 fatigue AoE 15 fire spell, and give it a range of like over 20, which is hilarious to me. I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but it is something I want to do, and this allows me to do it. So that's basically my walkthrough for Abysia. And so yeah, that's it. I'll release the turns once I get to turn 20 in game. And if I die earlier than that, then I'll just release what I have. But anyways, until next time.